Well, my friends, I'm back. I have been working, and I hope you have too, and it's time for us to just, look, get this done. I hope you're excited. I hope you are, that you have enjoyed or are still enjoying the journey, that you didn't give up. So give yourself a pat on the back. Woo! All right, real quick. All right, we're working on our top-down, just simple sweater. It was just to get some numbers, to get an idea of this simple sweater other than a cardigan. And so when I left, we had put our sleeves on each needle. We were working down the body. As I said, I have to work for my short body, my short frame. I had to work at least 5 of these leaf, this leaf pattern. I worked 5. Of course, anyone taller, you're going to work 6 or 7 or whatever. And then you were to knit 2 rounds all the way around. The leaf was done, but you were to continue to do the 2 little stitches on the side, the reverse stockinette. And now you probably can see why it needs to come on down so that it fits in real nice. And then, of course, let's go to the back. All right, now the back of the sweater, I may have to do a little folding here to get it all in. Where am I? Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, gosh, I'm way off. All right. So now here's the back of the sweater. And after you did your rounds, then you were to meet me at this marker. This is the marker where we wanted to start the ribbing. Well, of course, I had to go ahead and start mine and get a lot of it done so that I can be ahead so that we can try to bring this to a close. So you kind of get an idea right now how it looks. But let me just refresh you and give you some information as we get ready to do the bottom ribbing of this sweater. Hold on, be right back. All right. Let's get started. Oh, now I'm going to try to speak up because I had to put my little heater on. Our main part of the house is built over a full basement with heat, has a heat source of its own. And then, but when we built my studio, it's built over, because it was an addition, it's built over a crawl space. So even with carpet down, you know, when it gets cold, the air comes up, you know, you can feel it on your feet. So I had to put my little heater just to kind of stir the, you know, just kind of keep it warm down near the floor. So Tootsie, my Tootsies are cold. That's a little private joke. Yep, my Tootsies are cold. All right, so here we go. You are down here. You're here. You finished the 2 rounds, and now we're at the back marker, or the beginning of the round marker right there, whatever color you're using in the back. And we want to start the ribbing to end this. And you're going to need about 2 inches worth. You know, I'd say 2. If you're taller, you may want 3. If you're a nice slim figure, you can go long. You can do your thing. Whatever. I'm just sharing with you how to do it. I'm not the boss of you. I'm just sharing. So, for instance, here we go. Now, the ones who did the collar, when you get to this point, you're just going to continue in the regular 1-by-1 ribbing. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and so forth. On this one, the one with no collar, do you remember that we did the twisted rib to give it some stability at the top? So I thought, you know what, I think we need to keep that pattern going. So now you can kind of see how it's going to look once you get enough of yours, but you see mine. All right, so let's go again. Just a few stitches to get you started. All right, I'm at the marker in the back that starts around. So regular 1-by-1 ribbing, even though we're going to twist it, it's knit 1, purl 1, but I'm going to knit 1 and go through the back of the stitch, just like that, remember? And knit that 1, now just purl 1. Now you're down here, you know, you're just getting started. Then yarning back. This is much easier really because the needle is pointing in the same direction as the purl stitch. So watch, I just stab it in the back. Stab it in the back. Knit the stitch, yarn in front, now stab it in the front. Yarn in back, go through the back. Yarn in front, purl like that. And you just keep moving the yarn. Just don't forget to move the yarn. Yarn in front to purl, so you're going in that direction. And so really it works a little smoother to me, because the needle, I'm not going like in our normal, like the other group. They've got to come to the front of the stitch and go this direction. So we're going in this direction for both stitches. Go through the back and knit the stitch. It just puts a little twist, and I'm trying to give some stability, trying to keep it from stretching out or looking bad. Alright, so now this is where you are down at the very bottom. The group with the collar, they're just doing regular 1x1 ribbing. You're doing the twisted one. So yarn in front, go this way, yarn behind, go in that same direction, but behind the needle, behind the stitch. Alright, so now you're going to work. We got a split yarn there. Let's get that off. Just go ahead and do that. Okay, so now you're going to work around now. It's okay to watch television as long as you remember to go into the back of the stitch. You know, if you find yourself going, you know, the regular way, just kind of back out and you know, find your place, go back and count, and you can always go back and count. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Okay, you know, you find your place like that. Now, after you have gone around, it's going to take, you know, like I said, about 2 inches. It's about the same length we're going to put on the sleeve, because we're going to get ready to talk about the sleeve in just a minute. So I try to do at least 2 inches. Taller people, you can go a little over 2, you know, whatever. But if you when you get around to, on this first round though, if you come around, as you notice, I didn't say, okay, let's stop and count our stitches. When we're working the 1x1 ribbing in the round, we need an even number. When we work it flat, we use an odd number. So when you work around this very first round down here, and you come up and you go, okay, I'm supposed to have a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Oh, I have a knit. Oh, okay, just back out a few stitches. You know, you just want to end with a purl stitch, because on this side of the marker is a knit. You don't want 2 knit stitches touching each other in the round for this ribbing. Does that make sense? See, here's the marker, and so if you need to knit purl 2 together, or knit 2 together, or something like that, or knit into the front and the back to make a stitch, but as long as you wind up with a knit, purl, then you slide the marker, and then it starts over. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Does that make sense? Just a little reminder. Alright, so now you're working, and the group with the collar, you're working just regular 1x1 ribbing, and the same applies to you. And you need at least a good 2 inches also. Now when I come back, I'm going to show you the bind off. I just want to show you how I bound that I'm going to bind this off, and I really think it really helps, and it helps the look of it, and it doesn't seem to stretch as bad. Alright, so take care and get some knitting done on your ribbing, at least 2 inches to make it look pretty, more if you want. Alright, I will see you back in just a little bit though. Alright, so hopefully you have worked, and by the magic of taping, alright, I am up to my bind off. I finished however many inches you want. I tried to make it 2 inches, just so that the bottom had enough weight to hold the sweater down, and so that it would look really nice. If it's really thin, then every time you lift your arms or something, then there's no weight on the bottom to me. So I'm coming up to my marker, the beginning of the round marker to end, and now I want to bind off. So last stitch is a purl, and then yarning back. Now I'm going to slide my marker. Now, before, and I still do, but the universal bind off for, you know, ribbing or whatever, is to bind off in pattern. And that's just the way it is, you know. That's how I normally do it and everything. And then, I don't know, a couple years back, in a few places, I would get so tired because when you do bind off in pattern, in ribbing, sometimes you get that little flute or that little ruffle look. And I thought, oh, man. You know, I'd even try to change a needle, go down, you know, maybe go down a needle size or just anything. Try not to make sure I don't have that little ruffle because, you know, you're binding off knit, purl, you know. So I decided one day, I don't know, curiosity killed the cat. And so I decided to start binding off in purl for certain things. Not all the time, but for this. So I want you to give this a try. Now, this is the beginning of the round, and this is where we're going to start to bind off. So I'm going to just cap this side of my needle because, well, I got to get my yarn off first, so don't I? All right, let me go over here first. All right, what I need for you to do, even though we're on the front of the work, because you're working it around, I want you to put your yarn in front, and we're going to bind off in with the purl stitch in the front, but bind off with the purl stitch. So I purl the first 2 stitches that I want to start to bind off, just like that, just normal binding off, and then reach back and just pull that stitch over. Now I can't take my mark off because it's going to keep rubbing my finger. Okay, you're going to know where because there's going to be a big gap there. Alright, then the next stitch, purl, then reach back and just simply bind it off, just like, nothing special about this part. I'm just not doing it in pattern. Knit, purl, I'm just going to bind it off all in knit stitch, even on this front side, even though we're on the front side. And I'll show you in a minute. So let me just do a few. Let me just stop talking for a minute. Pay attention. And I'll show you why I started doing it for some projects. Not all the time, but these are just different things you just kind of pick up and you put it in the back of your mind, in your arsenal of stitches and things that you need to just remember as you start to knit sweaters and put your own little touches on them or your own little ideas or find a stitch you like. So I'm just using the purl stitch on the front of the work to bind off. Let's see if I'm on camera here before I go too far. Yeah, I think you can see what I'm doing. Oh. I don't want to get too close. Sometimes when work is too close, of course, sometimes it'll make me get that vertigo feeling. And I'll be like, oh, ooh, it's too close, too close. So I try to be mindful of that. I just want to do a few stitches so I can show you what I'm trying to sell you. I'm trying to sell you this bridge. So I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just binding my stitches off, even though it's on the front of the sweater. Let's see, can I pull some stitches around? I am doing a purl stitch. Here we go. See, right, for every stitch, instead of my normal knit, knit, purl. I think I first started doing it because I think I made a mistake a few years back. I was doing something, and it stuck with me. When I was done, I wasn't gonna go back and undo it, but it stuck with me. And then, like I said, sometimes when I do the bind off in pattern, especially on a ribbing, sometimes you can get that little ruffle look. Okay, I think I've done enough so I can show you. Now I'm going to cap everything because I don't want this to get away from me. Now let me move it in front of the camera and let you see what I'm... Alright, so now I have... Here is... I'll just hold that stitch up. Okay, now here is the bind off. It's a purl stitch, but actually the little purl bumps to me makes it look a little, I don't know, finished. Because this is what you will have if you did the regular bind off or bind off with the knit stitch on the front. Let me show you what you will have. You will have this little line. Well, now that's nice and neat too, and a lot of people like that. But to me, it just... I don't know, it gets tight and it looks, I don't know. But it's up to you if you prefer that. But once I started kind of adding this here and there, like I say, you don't have to do it all the time, but sometimes it's nice to know something a little different. But that's the line that you will get. And once I saw it, once I did, saw that I could put it on the back side of the work, and have this little row of little purl bumps. I thought that was pretty. Now you might say, no, Jay. But that's how I bound off my sweater. So I would continue around my sweater, binding off on the front, but using the purl stitch all the way around. And then from there we need to move to our sleeve, because we've got to pick up a sleeve, and I'll show you what I did on it and give you some good information and some good tips. So now we're just binding off. You can try you can try this on this one and get the little purl bumps, or if you'd like to try binding off in the knit stitch, but you're going to get this little line that you got to make sure that you don't pull too tight, or you can bind off in pattern. Knit one, purl one, knit one, you know, bind off, you know, knit one, bind off, purl one, bind off. Does that make sense? So if you're new, I would try one of these. That way, hopefully you don't get the little ruffle effect. You'll get a nice little beaded edge. Alright? Alright. Work on that, and then I will be back and we will be ready to start working on our sleeve. I'm trying to move so I can get all this done. Alright, take care. Alright, I have worked my bind off on my bottom of my sweater. Here's the stitch. I simply did my bind off. I used a purl stitch on the right side of the fabric to give me this little row of beads at the very bottom, which is just something different to try. Like I said, normally you'd bind off in pattern. Knit one and purl one and bind off, and then knit one and bind off, purl one, bind off. Or you try binding off in the knit stitch. But when I do this purl, when I bind off it with the purl stitch, then this line that you will see a lot of times just simply takes away, to me it takes away, and it looks like it belongs on the wrong side, which in this case it is on the wrong side. See that line that goes across there? Alright, and so I just give it a try. It just makes pretty little, I call them little purl bumps at the very bottom of the sweater. So now you're seeing the bottom edge of my sweater right there. See how nice and pretty? Now on the back side, let me just flip it real quick. Kind of move some of this out of the way. Poor bird fell down. Alright, so now I just want to show you real quick. Alright, I'm to the... Now I can pull in some. Alright, so I'm back here in the back, and I'm going to grab me a needle real quick to just... Got the last bind off stitch, and then of course you pull it through, and then you're going to take your needle and try not to have this big jog or step down or something that looks too bad. Sometimes I can hit it just right and it looks great, and then sometimes I have to work at it. It's part of the process. So that's where I've stopped, and then I'm going to jump over a little bit because it leaves kind of like a little gap. I'm going to go up under 2 stitches right here on the top and pull that over. Don't over pull it, just pull it over so that they meet nice. And then I'm going to continue to weave. Well, I guess I need to turn it. I guess I had it the wrong direction. Now let me see if I'm back on camera. Yeah, okay, you can see. So there's a hole there. So now I can turn it on this wrong side, and now I can just simply go over here, up under. I can go in. In fact, I'm going to drop down and go that. Just work it up and down in some of those knit stitches on the back without over pulling it. Just pull as much as you need to get it nice and even like that. And then just continue to go up and down. Let's see, up. Oh yeah, now I need to go up. And up, under, down. I'm just weaving in. I just make it simple and neat and clean. That's all you need. Simple, neat, and clean. And I just go up and down. Wait, I think I was going down. I went up. Oh, nope. There we go. Down. Then right up under a stitch. You're just going under one string. You don't have to go under 2 when you're just weaving this in, because you're going up and down. So I've gone across, up and down. And now I've taken care, and I don't have a big jog or a big step down or whatever. Now I can just cut this off, or you can weave in more, whatever, and then pull it back a little bit and it'll disappear. And I have taken care. I have just finished my bottom ribbing and the bind off. And hopefully you will give this a try, just to have something different to use at any time you want. Now, we need to get to our sleeve. For our sleeve, let's make sure I got my needle. Lord have mercy. Yeah, I got it. I have it. Alright, we will need a number 9. This is why you use plenty. Have more than, one, because I had one on one sleeve. Now it's done, so, but I had to have an extra one in order to, because both were on needles. Alright, so let me reset my camera and make sure I got my sweater just in the right position so we can go ahead and get this done, because see, it's already on the needle. We just start knitting. We don't have to transfer, we don't have to do anything, but we do have to pick up some stitches. So let me just get everything lined up. Be right back. Now to get started with our sleeve. Okay, I went ahead and worked on one, but I want to go get right into this one. The first thing you're going to notice, and I hope you'll, like I say, after you get into sweater making or whatever, how nice it is to have the stitches already on the right needle. You don't have to remember, you don't have to try to find it. It's right there. I just took the little rubber thing off. I'm ready to go. So I'm going to turn it just a little bit, just so that I can work. I'll just kind of turn it to the side so that we can pick up some stitches. Let me check. And it's going to be a little crumpled up, but just kind of work with me here as long as I'm on camera. Alright, so then I take another number 9, and right here, if you turn, remember where that big gap at the bottom where we added everywhere, every size, added 8 stitches back. Now, in some, right off the back, some, you may say, well, look like other patterns I work, they have a lot more stitches. They have 12 or 16. Well, they're probably working with smaller yarn and smaller needles. We're working with number 9s. So you don't need as many stitches. So we started with 8 and we added 8 down here, which really gives the whole sweater positive ease, because there's 8 stitches here under this arm and 8 stitches on the opposite sleeve. So if you turn it up a little bit, and you can see the top of the stitch where you are, because we really didn't mark, but you can see 2 strands. I can go 1, 2, 3. I can see where the 4 stitches. So I'm just going to put my needle in up under 2 strands, just like that. We're going to call that the center. That's good. It's fine, just like that, people. It's a sleeve. It goes around and around. Now, I'm going to leave a nice tail, though, in case I have a hole or something I might need. So I'm going to leave a good-sized tail, and I'm simply going to start to knit. I'm going to loop my yarn over this needle I just put in. We'll put a marker when we come around. We're just getting started. So I'm going to pull that yarn. So let's go right up under 2 strands. I think I didn't get up under 2 strands. There we go. Leave a nice long tail in case we have to do any little fixing up, and I just pull it through. I haven't gotten to this needle yet. Then I go up under the next stitch where there's 2 strands, where we added the 4, and I'm still holding both ends of my yarn, the working yarn and the tail. I do that for a couple of stitches. Then I can drop the tail and kind of stick it down into the sleeve. Now I just have the working yarn. Does that make sense? Then I go right up under, so that's 1, 2, that's 3, and then I'm going up under here, that's 4. Now, right here, where the needle is and where this needle, between the 2 needles, there's really a gap. This is a given in knitting. You just have to fill in the gap. It depends on your size or how large a gap. If you can go up under 2 strands, I suggest just go up under 2 strands to get a good stitch. You can do it with 1 stitch, or if yours is wider and you find that you have to do it with 2, then by all means, just do 2. You don't have to be afraid or anything like that, but do go up under. Find a place to go up under. It doesn't really matter, where you have 2 strands and pull it through. Does that make sense? Now we have just added an extra stitch. My number when I ended my sleeve was 52 for large to 1X, whatever. Okay, it was 52. When we added the 8 stitches down here, that brought my sleeve count up to my best. I call it my best stitch count. 52 plus 8 is 60. So I want to stay pretty close to 60. If I go over 1 or 2 stitches, that's fine, because since I round my numbers up, since I round them up to numbers divisible by 4, I have that privilege to go up, if I need to go up a stitch or 2. But now I have just added 1 stitch in this corner. Now you can just leave that 1 stitch. So now let's see. So that would be 60. 52 and 8 is 60. This stitch right here would make it 61. And then, of course, if I add 1 stitch on this side, I'm going to have to add 1 stitch on this corner here when we get around, or if I need 2. But say, this is just FYI information. Say you're a larger size and you see your gap is pretty large, and you say, okay, Jay, I think I'm going to have to go under and get another stitch like this. And you wind up like, ooh, now my sleeve is going to, you're going to put a lot of stitches. As soon as you can start deducting, you can start decreasing stitches. Say, for instance, like I added that 1, well, I can simply right up here, when the first 2 stitches on this needle, I can just knit 2 together. That took care of, or that balanced off that 1 stitch. So now I'm back down to 60. Does that make sense? I filled in 1 for the gap, or if you have 2, you may have to fill in. But I want to stay close to the 60 as possible. It's all right if you have to go over. So the first 2 stitches that I came to on this needle, right there, you just saw me do it. I can take it out and do it again. The first 2 stitches that I came to, I just knit 2 together. to cancel out where I added that one stitch. See, I'm just going right up under there, and I'm just going to knit 2 stitches together. Okay, I'm back down to 60. All right, now I continue to knit around, and I don't have a gap or anything, or shouldn't have. So now I will continue to knit around. See it? Till I get to this side. Let's see how fast can I do it and not have to move the camera. Let's see if I'm on camera. Yep, I think you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to knit around now all my stitches. Just want to make sure you understand. So there is a way to keep your stitch count as close as possible to what I call your best number. And mine is 60 for my sleeve. So I'm just going around real quick to see if I can get it all, get this portion. So I'm just pushing my sleeves around up on the second number 9 needle. Now isn't this nice? See, I can just go right into knitting. I didn't have to transfer or try to get those stitches off that waste yarn. I just went right into knitting. And sometimes you might need to put it on waist yarn. Maybe it's a pattern that you think, you know, I really got to try this on, or I'm working, you know, this is something new. Maybe it's a different type, a different style sweater, different construction. You may have to do it. But for my standard sweaters, I just found this worked fine because the numbers, because I know my best numbers for different parts of my body. And that's the whole idea. So now I'm coming up to, I'll get that needle out of the way in just a minute. So I'm just going to turn it this way, all right? I'm coming up to the second, to the gap on this side. And let's see if I'm just way off camera or whatever. Okay, you're just going to have to kind of do the best you can to follow. I'm trying to stay in frame and knit and talk. And try to do it real fast before my foot goes numb, before my foot goes asleep. I'm sitting on a stool, and I always make, sometimes my foot will go to sleep. Okay, so I get up. Before I do I get up to the last 2 stitches. Well, now, I want to do the same thing I just did over there on that side. Understand? So I know I have these last 2 stitches, so I'm going to go ahead and knit these last 2. I'm going to just knit them together because I know I have to fill in 1 stitch. You should know by the time you get on this side whether you had to do 1 stitch or 2 stitches. You just knit 2 together. Now I'm going to look for a place to go up under 2 strands of yarn right there. And I'm just going to knit. I just pull that over. Now I can kind of fill in. I've got 4. 1, 2. Oops, if I had a camera frame, I hope I'm not. Let's see, I got to get up under 2 strands. 3 and 1 last one. It's kind of hard to see that last one. Now I'm going to stretch it back on my needles here so that I make sure that I don't have a gap over here. That I didn't... Nope, I don't see a gap. I don't see a hole. And I should be back up to my count of 60 stitches. So I've got to go up under 2 more. I think I missed a stitch here. Let me go back a little bit. Hold on. I think I missed... Wait. Okay, I think I missed this one. Make sure you get up under 2 strands because it just makes a better connection. And that's where you can tell, okay, there's 2. 3, okay, and 4 up under 2. All right, so now I can add a marker so that I can have, and if it wasn't quite on the 4, don't worry about it, as long as you know you have only 8 and that you have your stitch count and there's no big gaps or holes in the corner. So now I have my stitch count. I can add my marker, and I just simply start knitting. Now what you want to do, and when you come to those stitches, that stitch where you held those yarns together there, that's just one stitch. Tighten up on the back side and just knit around. Okay, now let's see, can I spread this out a little bit so that you can see a little more? There we go. So now I start to knit around. Now we need to stop and talk a minute. And there, look, you can see instantly a big hole if there was one. But so far, so good. So now I'm going to cap everything, and then we're going to talk and see what we have here. See, can I give you some information? All right, let's see if that's good enough so that I can stop. All right, so now here's the sleeve. We started to work around. I thought, well, all the other sleeves I've done, we've kind of tapered. So I wanted to try a sleeve where I didn't taper, because we've got a lot of, I got several cardigans open down the front that I don't want to do the tapered sleeve. I want to do a sleeve. Let me go to the second sleeve. This one that I've got done. I want to do it where it just comes straight down and has like a wide, where the cuff is not tapered in. See that? I thought, oh, that would look nice. See the ribbing is just like the ribbon on the bottom. We just finished. All right. Same bind off. See? Exactly the same. There's that funny line on the inside, but the little bumps are on the outside. Okay. So all I suggest you doing is from this point on, we just started, is to do nothing but just start now knitting in the round. Just knit in the round. I've got a good number. I know I'm right at 60, or you may be a couple of stitches over, but now you're just going to knit in the round, all the way down. Now you can go all the way to your, I go about, the cardigans I want to start going longer, but usually I stop about here, like bracelet length. So I want to go at least 4 inches past my elbow so that I can bend my arm and the sweater will move with my arm. So if you get, so I went about 4 inches past my elbow before I started adding the cuff. Excuse me, I got string on. So you see, it just makes a nice little sleeve, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do something a little different. So it's nice and open, fits real pretty. So now it's just knitting round and round. I will work on this, and then of course I will come back and just check in, because once you reach, so many, I do 4 inches past my elbow and then put my cuff on, and then you're gonna bind off just like this, and I'll come back and we'll just add some finishing touches. Or if I think of any questions that you might have, I'll go ahead and try to go ahead and just kind of talk about it or give an idea of what you can do. So, all right, we are knitting the sleeve round and round. And you have your marker in. Don't forget your little marker right there. Anytime you leave, be sure to put your caps on. Great job. I think you're going to like this. All right, take care, and I will be back shortly. Alright, my friends, while I'm finishing up on the second version and working on my sleeve, I've given you all the information for those that are working on that version to finish up. And then what I will do is come back and have, not on this video, but I'll have a finished video. That way I will get to show both versions or wear them or whatever. And then any questions or anything you want to suggest, you know, we'll just be able to have a little chit chat. But before I left everyone, I wanted to come back to the one with the collar. Now this is my test one. This is the one that I was, you know, designing and then made all the changes from. And as you can see, when I did this one, I did not think to add extra stitches to my collar, as I shared with the ones, you know, with the one that I started with, you know, the new one. So your collar should be a lot fluffier and fold over really pretty, and just really hopefully will look beautiful as you wear it around your neck and everything. It's not a solid, you know, round because it has a split. So now this is what I suggest. Of course, I will be wearing sometimes a flower, because you know that's J. Now it can be any type of little flower, even a little crochet or a knitted flower. You know, I just like the little look of it, the accent of it. But also, let me share with, I came back on to share this with the people who did the collar. Once you're doing all your little sew-ins and you're weaving things in and checking everything. All right, where we had the split now, I had this backed way out, so let me bring it in now a little more so you can see. All right, so where the split in the collar, of course, something like that always has a weak spot. That's just part of knitting, people. You have places where, you know, maybe there's a weak spot. So what I did, I took some of the yarn and I just simply went on the wrong side, and I took about 3 or 4 stitches at that join where the split is, and I even came up a couple of stitches up on the collar so that I would not have any problems with my yarn or with it breaking, or, you know, because like I say, you got to put it on over your head, on and off, on and off. I just wanted to secure that join, and then I went ahead and added. Now these weren't the buttons I really was hoping for. I was hoping, let's see if I've got, I think I had 1, or maybe 2, but I didn't have time to go out and get any. So I stuck these on strictly to take the picture and for, you know, so that I can share with you. But these were some of the buttons that I was looking at. Look at these little. They're like they have a little shank on the back. I hope I'm in the camera range. And they have a little pearl essence on the front. I thought those would be pretty. I used to have some of those. Let's see how it looks. But they have a little shank, and they would be really pretty. I also had the same button in a blue tone, like a little blue iridescent. See that? Has a little shank, and then the shank makes it easy to attach. But I thought maybe 3, 4, or you can, you know, write down this seam from where I reinforced the connection right here at the collar, and then just to kind of make it look decorative, you could add some pretty little pearl essence or little buttons down there. So what do you think of that? Oh, I wish I had known to add more to my collar for this one, but it's still wearable. Like I said, I'm going to do a finished video where I can wear both, and, you know, we'll play around. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, maybe for the new year, not really a runway. Look, Jay's not in the mood. But at least maybe, you know, so I can change anything I haven't worn or need to wear again. Maybe I can do a little show and tell show. So what do you think of this sweater? I wanted to make sure we all finished. Now, let me just pull this one up. And like I said, this was my test one, so I did the 1x1 ribbing, not the, what is that? Not the twisted rib on this one. I wasn't sure if the twisted rib, if it would be a little stiff or if it would be, you know, as soft as this. But I don't know if I decide to do this sweater again, which I will, and put a new design. You know, I won't use the same design. We'll put something else. This was to get you some numbers. But I might just, I love that look of the twisted rib, how clean it made the stitch stand out. And, of course, but since I just used regular, straight 1x1 ribbing, I had to use it on the sleeve here, on the cuff, and here at the bottom of the sweater. But as usual, I do it the same, so I generally get it to come out looking really nice. I hardly ever have any problems. Mainly because, you know, it's just the way I do it, and I'm used to doing it that way, and I don't really change unless I just want to try something new. So now the next time you see these numbers, or when I wear it, that will also be a good idea to do. I'll go through any tweaking, any tweaks or any tweaking that I had to do to the pattern, so that I can maybe make sure next time everything's included. So what do you think of this? I hope you've enjoyed this. I am so happy to share this with my friends. You know, you're just pushing me. You know, I was happy just sitting in my own little house, you know, eating a sandwich, watching other people on the YouTube just come on and just talk and tell about their things. And then, you know, I had no inkling that I would be on YouTube, and here I am closing in. Is this year 7? I've lost track of how many years I've been on here. It just seems like a blur because it was only supposed to be 1 or 2 videos. And now here I am almost 7 years or 7 years later, and it's all due to the people who have supported me, who are my fans and friends. I enjoy and I'm thankful for each and every one. I don't do a lot of advertising, and I'm not on social media, so I know that really kind of, you know, that really I can't expand like maybe I would love to or anything. But you know, it's not that you know, at my age I'm just not on the social media, and do I really care to do all of that? So that means I really am grateful to the ones who have and continually support me by just watching my videos, leaving me great comments, giving me thumbs up. I have never asked for any. I don't intend to. That's just not the way it is with me. I want to just keep trying to motivate you to, you know, I crochet when I can. Crocheting really hurts my shoulder, you know, I guess because it's not something that, I don't know, I guess it's the way the motion of, you know, how I move my shoulders. So it does take a little more out of me. But knitting is something that I really love to share, and I'm just going to keep driving in my own lane. That was one little thing we had at work. I'm just going to drive in my own lane, and you know, hopefully I will continue to draw people and find new people and people that would be interested in what I have to share. And so, nothing else to do but look, put my nose to the grind, and let's just keep going. Well, this is Jay. And this is Jay's Knit and Purl Jan saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I've got to get busy to get December's project ready. And if I can, I'll try to throw in a little crochet somewhere, you know, just something. But we'll just see how it goes. So until then, I will see you later. Bye-bye.